Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we are going to create an Arctic animal in an aurora borealis landscape, or the northern lights in the sky. As you can see, the northern lights are super cool and they are very beautiful. So we are going to be inspired by the northern lights today, which is a natural phenomenon that happens in nature. We are going to start with a pencil first. And of course, we're going to write our name on our paper, and we will also write our teacher's name on our page. Then we're going to go ahead and flip the paper over so that our names are on the back. Then we are going to take a plain white piece of paper. We're just going to tear that paper in half. Now, we are going to be sharing the other half with our table partner so that we don't waste as much paper. If you want to change the shape, you can absolutely continue to tear so that it's the shape you want, maybe a little bit wavy or kind of having a bump to it. Then we're going to put that paper down on our black page, and we're going to choose if we would like to have cool color chalk pastels for our project today or warm colors. So you decide if you want to grab from the warm color bin or the cool color bin, but we do not want to mix the two. So choose one or the other. When we start creating our background, we are going to choose one color at a time. And we are going to keep our white paper on the black page. You see how I'm just kind of keeping just little sections of color or small chunks right on the edge of where the white paper meets the black paper. So we're basically making a multicolor line at the top of the white page. You want to be very careful not to move that white paper around. So notice how I'm keeping my other hand really pressed firmly on that white paper so that it doesn't move around and shake. So once I get to the edge, it might not be quite long enough. That's okay. I'm just going to take that white paper and shift it over so it reaches the edge. Then what I'm going to do is place it back at the beginning so that it's right underneath my line. And I'll take my pointer finger and I am going to blur or smudge this chalk pastel up. I don't want it side to side, I only want it up. So notice how I am keeping the white paper down underneath. Then you can make a second line. As I am making these, they do not have to cross the entire paper. Some of them can be a little bit shorter or longer. Then I'm going to keep the white paper down and blur it up. I want you to have at least 3 lines going across your page. At least 3 lines. Keeping the paper down and blurring up. Then once you have those 3 northern lights lines in your sky, we are going to take this white paint. This is going to be our snow at the bottom of the paper. So when I paint my snow at the bottom, I'm going to bunny hop my paintbrush up and down. This is going to make kind of a fluffy snow texture, or how it looks like it might feel. So I'm hopping my brush up and down all across the bottom of my page. Once I think that I'm all done, I am going to double check that there aren't any awkward spaces or spots of black. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I fill all of those in with my white paint and my bunny hopping brush. Then comes the fun part. I'm going to take my paintbrush, hold it really tight on the end with one hand, then with the other, I'm going to tap, tap, tap the top. So I am going to make some snowy splatter in my sky. Hold really tight to the end of the paintbrush and tap, tap, tap gently on the top. Make sure you are above your paper. Otherwise, you will get a big splat on your paper of white. So stay above your paper. Splatter the snow in the sky and you are all done. Now your hands will probably be messy. That's okay. It's the mark of an artist. We are not going to go to the sink to wash our hands today. So maybe just rub them together so the paint on your hands dries a little quicker. Today we are going to be making our Arctic animals. Remember, when I say the Arctic, I mean the North Pole or the Arctic Circle if you were looking at the very tippy top of a globe. Today you get the choice of making a polar bear, an Arctic fox, or you could also make a snowy owl or a penguin. You are going to start with a pencil first, so you can erase if you make any mistakes. You get the choice of drawing a polar bear, penguin, Arctic fox, or a snowy owl. Please use this drawing guide to help you. I'm choosing a snowy owl today, so I am going to start at step 1. Make sure that when you draw your creature, that you draw it pretty large on the paper. It should take up almost the whole space, maybe a little bit less. I would say maybe it is a good rule that your animal should be about as big as your hand. So if you put your hand on your piece of paper, your animal should take up about the same amount of space as your hand does on the page. So have your animal as big as your hand. Once I am done drawing, I am of course going to trace and erase. Tracing with Sharpie first over all of my pencil lines. That way I make sure that all of those lines are really bold and so everyone can see them. Make sure that after you trace all of your pencil lines with Sharpie, that you also erase those extra pencil lines after. Trace and erase. And then, of course, I'm going to add any small details of color with colored pencils. So, for instance, I could color in the eyes, maybe I want to color in the feet, or adding some different details in the fur. Most of those animals are going to be white, however, since they are snow animals or Arctic animals. So you probably won't need to color in a whole lot of details. Just a few things, like again, maybe the feet or the eyes. Then, my dear ones, you are going to be cutting your animal out. So I'm going to take that scissors and I am going to be cutting my animal out very, very carefully around the edges. Boys and girls, be very super careful when you are cutting your snowy Arctic animal out because we do not want to damage our animal. So be very gentle when you are cutting around. Then we are going to be using some oil pastels to add any kind of detail in your background. So I'm going to take that Northern Lights sky that I made last time, and I am going to decide where I want my creature to go. Now, I imagined maybe my snowy owl was sitting on some kind of a tree. So I'm not sure if trees even really grow in the Arctic, but I decided that maybe that would make sense for my picture. So I am going to be coloring in my tree using an oil pastel. So again, you can add any kind of little details that you want. Maybe you draw like an igloo in your picture, or maybe you draw a little piece of ice for your creature to stand on. It is totally up to you. You don't have to add any details with oil pastel, but that is an option for you if you would like. Again, you don't have to. You could just have them sit on the ground, but it's there if you want to. Then I'm going to take some glue and then I am going to glue on my creature to my background. So for my case, I'm going to glue my snowy owl on the tree. Remember, my rule for glue is dot, dot, not a lot. So when you are using this type of glue in the glue bottle, please only use small dots of glue around the edges of your picture. Dot, dot, not a lot. Then you're going to place it on your page, pressing down and giving it a nice back rub so that it sticks super duper well. Ooh la la, paper likes that massage. Then you are all finished. Voila!